Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to the DDoS-a-thon Day 3. Just kidding. It's the G-1 League Season 5, the North American European Qualifier. I am LD of Beyond the Summit. I'm joined here by Blaze, an up-and-coming caster. You may remember his name from the Premier League. He's been doing the lead cast for them. He'll be joining us here for Dignitas versus QPandas, a best-of-3, a reschedule, a makeup match from yesterday. We had some internet issues. We had some supposed DDoS issues, and at this point, who can really question that theory, as it seems to be everybody's internet suddenly crapping out only during Dota matches, so something malicious seems to be afoot. It's QPandas versus Dignitas, a best-of-3, a play-in match. Loser goes home. Winner will move on to play Na'Vi in Phase 2. Speaking of Phase 2, it starts today. We actually have a triple header of action coming up. Later today, we will have Team Liquid versus Absolute Legends, as well as Fnatic EU versus Kaipi. Both of those best-of-3s coming over the course of this evening. So with all that being said, Blaze, thanks for joining me, man. Oh, you're muted. One sec. There you go. Blaze, let's try that again. Thanks for joining me.
No problem at all. Yeah, I mean, I felt like it was up anyways. I was hanging out playing Super Mario and listening to your awesome stream music, so I figured why not jump on in, so.
Good to have you here, and, well, the good thing is you have Super Mario, so if there's a prolonged delay, you can give us a little play-by-play of that.
Awesome. Yeah, you can't get enough of that stuff, so that'll definitely help. But hopefully it works out. I mean, right now we do have a fine draft going on through, and you know, obviously they seem to jump in like 10 minutes into it. But if we can get a good game out of this, I'd be happy to see it.
Yeah, we'll have to see how things develop. If you're just tuning in, we're playing basically with a clean slate. So I know a lot of you saw the first game yesterday. We got about, I think it was like 10 minutes in or so. Dignitas were crushing their way through the laning stage. A very convincing performance from them. And unfortunately, though, it wasn't far enough in where the admins felt comfortable saying, hey, it should be a forfeit. And they were the ones who had the connection issues in the end. And, you know, something that it just doesn't seem like a good policy to actually go ahead and give a team... if a team's winning and then they're the ones that have connection issues, it's not really fair to suddenly award them a forfeit win. It's something that could be exploited. Not that I think Dignitas was, but just not a good precedent to set. So we are going to start from scratch. It's a best-of-3. It's a reset of the series. And with all that being said, Dignitas, they looked like they had QPandas' number in that series. And as far as this game goes, QPad doing, I think, the identical draft. Last time they started with the first pick, Chen. And this time around, we're seeing the same thing. I'm not sure... I'm actually going to double-check the chat because from what I was told, yeah, it's new picks. So the teams are allowed to draft as they please. They're just choosing to draft pretty much the exact same way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, just playing into their style a little bit. They're going to get some really solid lanes. I actually haven't caught that much of QPad, a lot of stuff from the DreamHack qualifiers and things along those lines, but in general, they do have a kind of a unique style that I'm interested to check out myself. But Dignitas also pretty much play into their own style. They have a lot of initiation potential, especially long range with Clockwork. So recently, Fogged has been picking up the Clockwork on... a little bit on the off lane, but it's been switching up the roles a little bit here and there. So I'm curious to see exactly how that's going to be run and if it could be used to great effect. Obviously, trying to go for some long range picks, but it's going to be hard to contest the Lifestealer plus Shadow Demon and Chen. I mean, it's pretty much the Shadow Demon, the one hero that sets up Chen perfectly, where he doesn't need to get those dark trolls. He's pretty much just going to be able to gank it up on, and if there's no cogs coming on through in time, then the disruption can really screw over the clock in the long lane.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, like you said, they've been playing around with the roles a bit. Dignitas, a team that loves their support, Shadow Shaman. I think the one team that picks it more than anything else, and we often call it a greedy pick because Shadow Shaman not very strong in the laning stage, but that has not stopped Dignitas from being aggressive with the hero anyway, occasionally. Not most of the time, but once in a while we do see it, so we'll see it this game. Now for Dignitas, banning out all of the long-range initiators. We won't see that Lifestealer bomb. I want to say QPad. I don't know if they picked... I can't remember if they picked it yesterday. I was like half asleep through the games. I know these first 3 picks are pretty much identical, but a lot of partner heroes for the Lifestealer now being banned out. The Queen of Pain, the Storm Spirit, and as well as Sing Sing heroes. So Sing Sing not having his collection yet could be something like a Kunkka for him if they want to say run a Kunkka mid. He doesn't match up particularly well against Batrider or Gyrocopter, so in that respect might need the early roam ganks. But if he gets them, which they could look to do, could be pretty effective.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this will be interesting. As far as the 4th and 5th picks to round out the lanes here, it looks like QPad will be looking for a lot of solo heroes.
That's some hate on Sing Sing, man. That's some serious hate.
Exactly. I mean, who else would pick up that Admiral? But, of course, Sing Sing does like to run that mid, as well as a couple different options. It looks like Puck is still available in the pool, so that's something that they could look into for one of his, not signature heroes necessarily, but one that he can play to rather great effect and disrupt the enemy's team fight a little bit.
I mean, it's like you said, it's not a signature hero, but it's certainly a hero that he's competent at, and It will be on US East, so obviously not the best paying, and Puck is a hero where you really want to play that hero on your home server. Timing your phase shift properly is important, but we'll see what they go for. With QPad, the way they've drafted, you really want relatively strong solos so that you can roam the Chen and Shadow Demon a lot. So whatever they do, something that doesn't need too much help in the lanes is probably ideal.
Most definitely, most definitely. So Dignitas in this position here, they're kind of posed with a choice of how they want to go proceed. They definitely want the Gyrocopter as their primary farmer because of the fact that the Batrider loves the solo lane. And technically he can jungle, but it's going to weaken their lanes overall. So the Clockwork has been run as support or in the off lane for both circumstances, which means they're very, very flexible to this stage. But this next pick is really, really going to concretely just convey exactly how they're going to position themselves and how they're going to proceed on how quick the Batrider's blink is going to be, how much experience Clockwork is going to get to be able to get that hook shot early on. Those kind of things are going to be very, very essential for QPad to realize how they're going to play against it.
Yeah, and you know, when you look at QPad's bans, it just shows you the versatility of this Dignitas team. One thing that they do, I think, better than any other team is they leave their options open. Well, not better than any other team, but they're one of the best at doing it, which is they don't draft themselves into a corner too often. And part of it is because they're willing to play greedy if they need to. We've seen them do that before. But another part of it is they have a lot of versatile players. So they pick up the Gyrocopter. It could even be run as a support. We expect it to be AoE 2000, but QPad isn't sure, so they have to ban the Lone Druid anyway, something that if Dignitas get usually goes into AoE's hands, and it just shows you the versatility of the team. The Weaver, now the choice for Dignitas, so if they want to aggressive tri-lane, they could. They have plenty of strong solos. Clockwork, Weaver, Batrider, all hard to gank. And looking at QPad, they have one way to kill this Weaver. That's the disruption into some sort of Chen creep disable, but you need the right creeps for that, or you need an amazing surround. So for Dignitas, we even actually, oh, I remember now. Last game, they ran a Clockwork Windrunner dual lane in the off lane. The Windrunner gets banned, so we're not going to see that combo coming out from them, but it just tells you, again, the versatility of this team. They can run a 2-1-2. They can run an aggressive tri-lane. They can play nobody in the off lane and just abandon it. It's really hard to predict. QPad, they're going to get one of Select's signature heroes in the Magnus here.
Yeah, this is going to be really, really interesting how they shape this to make it work for them. With the Empower on Lifestealer, as long as he doesn't use Rage, he's going to be able to deliver a lot of damage in a cluster, so pretty much all on Select to get some really good groupings off and try to disable up, especially that Gyrocopter as much as possible. But it's also really good against the Weaver. That disable that pierces through Magic Immunity. Weaver's not one to pick up BKB, but nevertheless, the longer that you can delay the time-lapse, the more likely you're going to actually be able to bring down this Weaver before having to eat through 2 health bars. So that's going to be very, very essential there. One thing I want to mention real quick is that the Weaver has been picked up multiple times over by Universe in the offlane, and he just kind of runs it as a suicide, similar to a Clinks, rushes an Orchid with it, and is just trying to survive, trying to really, really screw over a specific individual, targeting specifically the Magnus here. If they do get an early Weaver Orchid, they're going to be able to actually disrupt a lot of that ultimate potential. But since they have so many heroes that can benefit from solo lane, we could still easily see a tri-lane Weaver, as you mentioned.
Yeah, and an Orchid would be great this game. Magnus and Lifestealer, 2 heroes you really want to be able to silence. Even Shadow Demon, if you don't silence him, he gets that disruption off. Fight can easily turn around. So Dignitas, they'll end their draft now with a Bane. Looking at QPad, it is so far a 1-core lineup, and if I'm QPad, I'm thinking they have a Lasso, a Feeds Grip, as well as an Enfeeble, a Hook, a Cogs. I really need a second carry here for Sing Sing in that solo mid-roll, and I'm not sure who it would be at this point. Any thoughts?
Well, it would be Kunkka, but obviously that's been taken out.
Yeah,
so.
no Kunkka, no Queen of Pain, sort of his go-to heroes as of late. What to do, Sing Sing, what to do. Tiny's what to do, the Rock Man.
Certainly.
But I'm not sure how effective will be this game. A lot of it's going to come down to that Magnus, because otherwise, look at all the abilities they have to disrupt him in the team fights. They have Sticky Napalm, they have Cogs, they have the Hook Shot, the Sleep, the Feeds Grip, as well as some mobile heroes. Provides you, or actually it's a Waga Tiny, so they're going to be running the Mag as their solo mid. Looks like Select Lifestealer, so an off-lane Lifestealer, probably. Potentially an offensive tri-lane if they want to do that, or just dual roaming. Magnus going to be handled mid by Sing Sing, and then a safe lane Tiny.
Really, really interesting situation here. If the player roles match up with the lanes here, they're gonna have a weird time for this Lifestealer. We're talking about how that dual core is so essential to avoid Wave 2 and Snaking's hard disable potential, but they're gonna have to find some farm on Lifestealer sometime. So I'm curious to see exactly when he's gonna actually hit his stride and be able to find the farm that makes him such a dangerous hero. But yeah, they kind of realize that they're gonna get disabled one way or another, and yeah, especially when Fog picks up a Ghost Scepter, it's gonna be harder and harder to dodge out of those big things. So it's interesting, but in this setup here, I definitely think that QPad have the stronger mid game. It's just how they're going to make the lanes work.
They do, but it's kind of dicey until they get a Blink Dagger in their Magnus, I feel. And Dignitas, very, very strong laning phase, especially. So can QPanda get to that mid game intact? A lot of it is going to come down to the support play. Can Mini, as well as Jarex, be effective? Jarex, known for his Shadow Demon play, it was a signature hero of the teams, and specifically of his, and he had some great disruptions, even though QPad fell behind early before the internet issues and the connection issues began. So for me, it's really all about these two. It's basically feeling like an LGDN style, but the issue is they haven't picked a really strong solo in the Tiny. The Magnus as well, someone who does all right in his lane, doesn't particularly need help 1v1, but isn't going to dominate it. Everybody, fingers crossed that there are no internet issues. Here we go. On the side of QPad, we'll have Sing Sing playing what we expect will be a solo mid Magnus. Select most likely on that off-lane lifestealer. Waga going to be handling the Tiny. So some signature heroes, oh, maybe not. Sing Sing going towards the bottom lane. We'll see. Probably just defending their own jungle to start. And then last but not least, Mini on the Chen. Smoke already picked up. And Jarex on the Shadow Demon. So the anticipation is offensive tri-lane lifestealer, or maybe just dual roam with lifestealer on the off-lane. Waga safe lane, and Sing Sing mid. But off the bat, looks like they do want to get aggressive. They're going to contest Team Dignitas' jungle.
Yeah, most definitely. Looking for maybe a first blood opportunity. It will be a little hard to find, but they have the disruption, they have the open wounds to start things up. It could be pretty good here. As far as items go, it actually looks like Waga might be looking for the solo mid with those 3 branches, but either way, we'll kind of have to wait and see exactly how things go.
You're right.
Out in that spot. Oh, really, really close. Jarex was honestly like within disruption range if he had just had vision.
Yeah, I don't think he expected a wild owie to appear there. That's not generally a place where a carry will wander. Now remember, the players have not really slept. They've had school obligations. The sleep schedules are completely screwed up right now. So we may not get the finest Dota of their lives, but we will get still a great series between these two teams. So on the side of Team Dignitas, Owie 2000 will be playing that one-position gyrocopter. It'll be way too sexy, handling the Bane. A nice observer ward already placed. Let's see if QPad can actually de-ward this one. And over towards the solo mid roll. It's been Snake King. The return of the king, at least in the western scene. He'll be playing that Bat Rider. Sentry Ward number 1 is not going to be de-warding anything. And then last but not least, Fogged as the offlane Clockwork. Looks like he might be dual laning with Universe. So it will be a support Clockwork, something that we have seen before, but not particularly common. For Dignitas, though, no surprises. They love to do things like this.
Yeah, it'll actually be really, really interesting. Fogs are going for Cogs at level 1 has a lot of potential of avoiding skirmishes early on. It can still push back the lifestealer when he's raged. Chen creeps won't be nearly as effective at closing the distance and really, really screwing people over. Specifically the Hellbears and the Centaurs, they need to get in melee range to get the clap off, and that's not going to be an option when Cogs are kind of splitting up the fight there. So I think it's a really, really good way to make sure that you're going to be safely farming on the gyro.
So I'm looking at this middle lane, and this is why I didn't really expect a Tiny mid. There's a Bat Rider on the enemy team. Not an easy matchup for Walker. And the issue with Tiny is he's not a great Bottle Crow candidate. You can Bottle Crow, you can use your nukes to farm, but they're quite expensive. His mana pool is horrendous. You compare, say, Shockwave to Toss, and the cooldown, the mana cost, just not even in the same ballpark. 120 mana at all levels compared to, I think it even starts below 90 for Shockwave and then scales, but does a lot more damage, has a lower cooldown. Gonna be hard for Waga to farm in this lane. So then you gotta look at the rest of QPad, and are they getting the trades elsewhere, Blaze? That's my question right now.
Yeah, they're trying to put out more pressure on this top lane, but look at this roaming activity. QPad has gone down a triple jungle is what's going on in this western camp here.
Jesus.
They do not feel confident about that top lane whatsoever, so that's a lot of golden experience they're not going to be able to accomplish, but what they're actually going to go for is a smoke gank here, and if they can get the first blood, their transition may well be worth it, because this is not something that Snake can be expecting.
A toss into a disruption, and the courier's gonna die as well. What a ridiculous start to this team fight. Will they have to follow up? No, it looks like they won't get the kills. The cogs are there, but oh, some next level Tiny. A 3-hero smoke gank. See ya, courier. Surprise from Jarex. A great play by QPandas.
Wow, that's something you just can't see coming. In all the games of Dota, that's just something that you really, out of nowhere, they come on through. That's a really cool courier snipe. Gotta say, good transition from Fog, though. The Cogs is exactly what kept Snake King going, otherwise he would have been in a really, really rough position.
I mean, that's absolutely massive, but Snake King got his bottle before it, so it could have been a lot worse, and he'll get a haste turn, which means, well, he doesn't have boots, but he probably won't be fighting a kill unless he Well, going aggressive would be very risky with those two supports missing, but still, he doesn't really have to worry about dying with this haste turret. So I think, yes, they get the courier. It seems huge. Dignitas, as bad as it is to lose your courier this early, it's like the best possible situation to lose it in, because even your Weaver doesn't really need the courier. Gyro is free farming top, so it sucks to lose your courier, but as far as losing your courier goes, this is about as good as it gets.
Yeah, definitely. And we actually see that gold advantage that was picked up immediately by QPanda by sniping off that courier is just completely disintegrated. It goes the other direction because of the timing that was the last hitting that was going on.
Mid lane, uh-oh. Snake King in a little bit of trouble here. Is there going to be an avalanche? It's too late. And he is hasted. He will get away. He even wants to man up. Snake King, 3v1. No problem, but he'll eat a test of faith. They'll flame break them back in. There's 6 stacks on Waga of that sticky napalm. Almost dying, just walking through the Firefly, scuttling away. In comes a Wild Clockwork. If he was level 2, maybe we'd see a point in that rocket, but not available yet. So when it's all said and done, a Glyph even forced out as well. Maybe a bit, yep, no towers under pressure, so misclick there. Yep. Maybe some nerves from QPad, but you were saying about Owie, he is having a great time. Actually, both solos for Dignitas are having a fantastic times in terms of farm.
Yeah, CS is topping out 21 for the Gyrocopter and then 18 for Universe himself. I mean, you definitely expect in a 1v1 that Magnus is going to have some rough times, that Gemini attack doing so much harassment damage, as well as last hit for Universe, so he's having a great time. And same thing with Owie, relatively uncontested, but we finally see this roaming back of the support. They are smoked up, but they're only level 2, so they only have so much to contribute, especially with just Shadow Poison instead of Soul Catcher. They're going to be in a great position at this side chop.
I think they got him.
Oh, bad time to chop.
There's your disruption to the body block. They're looking for it. No open wounds applied just yet. The stun is there. Now the open wounds comes out, and first blood going to QPandas. So they're getting horribly out-farmed, but they get first blood, they get a courier snipe, and we have ourselves a ball game, Blaze.
Yeah, definitely. He wanted to spend some gold. He just ended up losing a little bit more than he bargained for.
Yeah, he had got his magic wand before he died, but didn't spend all of his gold, so definitely he's going to lose some there. And I think for Dignitas, they're not happy about this, but they're still okay, because look at all 3 of their cores. They're still topping the farm charts. 25 CS on the Weaver, 25 on the Bat Rider, 24 on the Gyro. And I don't really feel like that courier snipe, as well as the kill, is necessarily going to change that too much. I still think Dignitas will get a lot of farm.
Exactly. They're still going to be able to make a lot happen. Their lanes are very, very strong. We kind of mentioned that in the drafting phase. And now, I was talking about the mid-game being very strong for QPanda, but the Blink Dagger is going to be so darn delayed for Sing Sing that I honestly got to hand it to Dignitas. They're going to have the initiation potential, and they're going to have the damage to back it up because of the early items on Owie and Universe.
Yeah, Universe getting total free fire. You mentioned the early Orchid. I think this is a game where you do want to get some HP items first, so something like a Drums and a Kill, even a couple of Bracers, maybe a Vitality Booster before you go into that, because there's RP, there's Avalanche Toss, there's a Soul Catcher. Total Orchid Rush, probably not the best way to go, but we'll see. Can always go back for that Orchid, and it would be a really potent game. As far as other core items for Dignitas, Snake King Courier back online, now he's Bottle Crowing, has been upgraded, so we won't see any more deaths for this poor little Wormelon. Shout out to you, because that's from the Premier League, I believe. And we'll have Snake King, I think, with a fairly fast Blink Dagger, the way he's farming mid. And this comes despite them essentially throwing 3 heroes at him for the first couple of minutes. So, all things considered, I think Dignitas still in a decent position here. And if I'm QPad, I've gotten that 1 kill, but you mentioned the levels on the supports. 3 on Jerax, 2 on the Chen. That's the really scary part for me.
Yeah, but on that note, I also got to mention out Fogged. Like, he has been roaming out around trying to be in the right place at the right time to be able to counter-initiate and keep his teammates alive. He's done that to great effect, but he's still sitting at barely level 2, an experience per minute of only 40.
Uh-oh, Avalanche Toss is there. Snake King nearly go down to this double damage. Needs 1 more hit from Waga. Can't find it. Snake King coming back in, thinks that he can turn this around. Waga has a toss in just a few seconds. Now they're going to be hunting way too sexy. Seems to be getting a little caught out. There's an open wounds here. He's in a whole world of trouble. He could sleep himself. Maybe it'll be enough to turn this fight around. There will be a rotation from Owie. There's your disruption. Actually, maybe buying some time for Owie, who says, hell no, you're dead. A disconnect only from our admin, though. Nothing to worry about. And now bottom lane. Sing Sing, cogged in, could just skewer his way out. So Fogged, like you said, has been moving around trying to anticipate the ganks, but unfortunately just hasn't seemed to be in the right spot, aside from that 1 courier snipe mid, but couldn't save the courier there in the end.
Sure enough. Yeah, I guess our G1 admins are going to get DDoS now.
I had a heart attack there, I'm not going to lie.
There he is, there he is.
A small one, though. I'm okay. I'll keep on casting.
They'll just keep on bragging about how QQ or whatever it is not peer-to-peer, so they don't have to worry about it.
Sheesh. Alright, well, we'll save those sorts of discussions for another day. Here we go, top lane, Mini getting caught out, and he is turning into total food through this mid-game. There was a rotation from Snake King. Has the smoke, didn't use it yet, but could look to keep the pressure flying, and he didn't lose Lasso, so Looks like they'll rotate him into the jungle, and this will be the way they look to catch up their supports. Way too sexy, level 4. They'll give him some level priority anyway to get that early 6. And versus a hero like a solo mid Tiny, he should be okay to at least get experience. We'll see Cogs pushing away our Shadow Demon. And I think for Dignitas, because they have the Bat Rider, Snake King can just jungle, and they can rotate the heroes like Clockwork and Bane and catch up the levels on, especially for Fogged. Maybe you look to give him some levels once your Bane hits level 6.
They actually really need to, in my opinion, because Fog right now is practically a useless hero. His Fogs are really, really powerful. He's used them a few times over, but that's only going to do so much. Until he gets a hook shot. Oh, mid.
Man mode. He's trying to go in here. Snake King is alive. The Rocket Barrage. A timely teleport from Owie. Turns the fight around. Picks up the kill for Way Too Sexy, and now haunting Jerax, who has no disruption. He's got the stick charges. He'll find the high ground here, but Owie does have higher move speed, especially with those phase boots. Chen is here as well. Midi could look to send him back. A well-timed stun. Gonna keep him alive. Good support play. But Mini level 4, Jerax level 3. These supports are really starting to feel like liabilities as we head towards the mid game. And for Dignitas, unlike QPad, they're not reliant on one big ultimate. They have so many chasing spells, so many spammable nukes, that a support who's underleveled is really going to be easy to pick off as we come towards the mid game. Toss in. Set targets tossed in mid. A great, clever initiation. Now the disruption to follow up. Avalanche is here. Way Too Sexy. No chance, no how. He'll go down. Owie looking for a trade, trying to get the kill with the flat cannon. Jerax drops to 1 hit away from death, but he will survive. So after a couple of trades, Blaze, about 1,000 gold lead for Dignitas for the Dire side. And this is after giving up First Blood and a Courier early in the game. Ahead by 1,000 gold, but all things considered, still a pretty even game.
Yeah, still kind of back and forth here and there. Really, really good movement. I honestly thought that Jerax should drop down there, but barely outside the 1,000 radius of the flat cannon was able to survive, so that's really nice for them. But yeah, in general, it's kind of been back and forth. I thought that there would be a lot more control from Dignitas, but they're still in a great state to move on forward with 1,400 gold on the Bat Rider. That Blink's going to be coming out in no time, and you really can't say the same about Sing Sing. He only just now bought his Arcane Boots, so it's going to be quite a bit delayed comparatively. This
game is going to be all about Jerax once that Blink Dagger is out. Is he in the right place on the map to deal with the Bat Rider? And more importantly, within the micro engagement of the fight, is he in the right position to avoid getting lassoed? A timely disruption can completely turn these fights, but if he gets picked off, if he dies too frequently, QPandas don't really have another answer. You might be saying, well, there's Chen, right? But he's only level 4, so the sendback's going to take a bit longer to go off, and on top of that, he doesn't have Hand of God, the mechanism nowhere in sight, so it's really all just down to Jerax and his disruptions to prevent this Bat Blink from running absolute roughshod over them. Oh.
We just see
Sing Sing actually got to dispel the smoke of Snake King, so smoke will be wasted. Snake King's just going to farm their jungle.
Yeah, finds a nice little opportunity to do so there. Maxing out the napalm though, he's not going to get too much. I guess kill these two creeps off, these two camps, but the triple is a little bit greedy, and he might actually pay for it if they do start rotating down there. But right now, it seems QPanda's really set in their lanes. They're committing to the top right now with the Chen and Shadow Demon. One weakness of Chen is the creeps don't obviously teleport with you, so rotations are a little more difficult with him. So they're just pressuring out Owie for the moment.
That's a good
one
point.
Thing to mention. One thing to mention is that Universe is moving for that Orchid very, very quickly. He actually is just getting his Tranquil Boots up in Basilius and already has one of those Oblivion Staves. So he's going to be able to pick up a second one and, of course, move in towards that Orchid Malevolence. So that could be a huge counter-initiation tool to really, really screw over Sing Sing or even, as you're mentioning, Jerax with his potential defensive disruptions.
The way he's farming, maybe he can get away with it. Fogg's currently stacking Ancients for his Gyrocopter, so isn't getting the levels, but is spending a lot of time towards this bottom lane. Stacking Ancients, and I imagine that might be the one option to catch the experience up, but if Dignitas lose a big fight towards the bottom side of the map, there's an empowered Tiny who can easily, or Lifestealer, who can clean those creeps up. So Dignitas will have to choose their time wisely to go for them and make sure they hold on to this tier 1 bottom. That will get harder once the Sing Sing Blink Dagger's out, but it still isn't yet. So, for the moment, looks like Dignitas, they feel like they could give the Bane the far mid, so Way Too Sexy hits level 7. Great leveling for support. And yes, Fogged is behind, something you pointed out earlier, but he'll catch up once those Ancients are killed. He won't get the gold, he'll get the experience. And I think all things considered, if they can get that Ancient stack and hold on to their towers as we head towards the mid game, for QPad, I feel these two supports, they're going to basically be playing 3v5 if they don't find a perfect disruption in the fights.
Yeah. What do you think about this Gyrocopter skill build? He's going right now, he's of course maxing out his flat cannon as a secondary, but he's actually picked up maxed down Rocket Barrage. Do you think he's going to actually get many opportunities to use that early game before it kind of falls off?
Well, we already saw it, right? He TP'd in mid, he was there for the counter gank, and the nice thing about it is against that offlane Lifestealer, you can just zone him out entirely with Rocket Barrage, so it's way more spammable than Rage, especially at the early levels. Rage doesn't have a long duration. I think it starts at 2.5 or 3 seconds, so something you can easily zone him back out and At this point, yeah, it'll fall off a bit, but it's still a lot of damage. I think it's like 600 on a single target or so before reduction, if you get every single proc off. And, you know, it's allowed Owie to be a force on the map. They picked a greedy lineup to some extent with Clockwork as well as Bane being very level dependent, but they'll make up for it here. They'll make up for it with the fact that they have a high impact carry who can continue to be involved early, and it's kind of dissuaded QPad from getting aggressive. I feel if he had flat counting, maybe they would have hasted. Snake King comes in. This will be his Blake if he finds this kill. He gets stunned by Mini. Thought I was lagging for a second, but it was a beautiful Centaur stun. Here comes Saint Seed. Skewers on in. Can't find an RP. A really fast bat pulling Mini all the way back, but he's still alive for the moment. Now the missile coming in. Gonna drive Saint Seed off. So the lasso not doing a whole lot, except for forcing. Actually does a decent amount, because it forces 5 heroes top, and while that's happening, Universe farming faster and faster, already has the next quarterstaff up. Oblivion Staff #1 has been complete, so that Orchid is coming soon to Dignitas. They're probably going to lose their tier 1 top, but looking at potentially 2 towers as a trade. Well, at least damage on the tier 1 mid, and then the tier 1 bottom definitely going to fall.
Yeah, so it's not really them trading back and forth with the fortifications, things along those lines. The Gyrocopter is dropping down call downs and flat cannons to try to dissuade them, but they could actually keep going for tier 2. They have extra toss damage. They're bringing it down very quickly. Minnie's been able to pick up some great creeps to keep it pushing, and along with that, of course, they still have that reverse polarity. Haven't commit a single one this entire game, so looking for their opportunities. Rank 3 Skewer does have a range of 1,000, so they do have a good chance of getting a decent one off. Maybe not like a 3-man or 4-man, but could pick off 1 or 2 heroes for a really good initiation.
We might see the Orchid come out before or at the same time as the Blink Dagger. That's pretty scary. Yes, Weaver's squishy, but if you're able to silence either of the 2 big stunners, the Magnus or the Tiny, he's actually fairly survivable. This is probably one of the fastest Orchids I've ever seen, and it's not like he got greedy rushing it. Universe is farming sensationally well. He picked up Rita Basois, he picked up Tranquil Boots and a Magic Stick, a decent amount of basic items. Nothing big like it drums, but the pressure is going to maintain here, and now they're rotating bottom, but they're going to walk right by an Observer Ward, and way too sexy. Diving the tower will pick off Jarex. Could be a trade, but the lasso is here from Snake King. He was prepared. Catches Waga out of position. Now the toss. Will it be there? A way to. It's actually cooling down. The RP catches up too. Hand of God just arrives in the nick of time, but it won't be enough. Waga's going to fall as well. 2 heroes dead. Now the dive on Sing Sing. We talked about the chaser. We talked about the nuke, so we're seeing it here. Looks like they want Sing Sing as well. Flame Break pushes him back in. Universe going to scurry his way out of there. There's no stuns. There's no RP. Sentry Ward deployed, but he's got time lapse if he even needs it. He'll be okay, so we turn our attention to Snake King, who might not be so okay. Blink Dagger cooling down, won't get away. In the end, a 2 for 2, but I think a much bigger win, and maybe more. Universe gets disrupted, but again, no stuns, no Chen creeps there. Magnus and Tiny dying in exchange for a Bane as well as a Bat Rider, and RP was expended. Completely worth it for Dignitas. Plus, on the back of that, Owie's farming Ancients, Fog's getting levels. They were fighting 3v4, 3v5, and it didn't even matter. Easily take the fight.
Exactly, and that was mostly because the only time the Sing could get a really good RP off is when everybody had already dropped down and wasn't part of the action, so he was the only one dropping that follow-up damage. It's good for that short duration, 2.25 second stun, 150 damage nuke, but between that and Shockwave, you're just bringing them low. You're not actually going to be able to finish the job. So, of course, with Weaver being so slippery, with the time lapse with the Shikuchi, he was able to maneuver on around, and now he has that Orchid finished, and is going to be a huge menace now that Bat Rider also has that Blink, and Lasso about to come off cooldown. Sing
Sing in trouble. Orchid is here, and he is dead, and that's going to delay his Blink Dagger by so much. The Soul Burn will tick in. Rocket to clean up the kill, but it goes actually to Universe, who now is hunting Mini. Maybe going to find the kill. The Chen stun is there. That should dissuade Universe, or will it? There's no RP. They need their Tiny here, and right now Tiny's at the top rune. He's nowhere in sight. Diving all the way to the base. Universe, like a man. There's just not enough stuns to deal with him, and he is punishing it. Going to scurry on out of there. Waga will rotate in, has his phase, even pops the drum charge in hopes of finding Universe, but a timely Orchid will prevent that. The Orchid comes out, the lasso is here, Select has arrived though. Can he bring down Snake King? Waga's still alive. This could be a turnaround. They bring down the Bat Rider. Can they bring down that Weaver? No, doesn't look like it. He'll time lapse, he'll scurry the other way in the end. Orchid, or not even time lapse, sorry, just Sakuchi away in the end. Completely lost track of it in the midst of that chaos, but he gets away, and all of a sudden we were worried about Fog's levels. Worry no more, Blaze. Worry no more. He's level 7.
Yeah, that was actually a really good stun coming out of Waga. He actually hit both of them, including the Invisible Weaver, so really, really good timing movement. He even used that drum charge, as you mentioned, to get on top of that, but still, as you were saying, the Weaver just maneuvers so darn quick. Shikuchi, maximum movement speed, very, very short CD. I didn't even have to expend the ultimate to survive on through there. It's just something they can't really lock down until they pick up some really, really long-term detection. They have some sentries up on Jarex, but it seems to be insufficient for the moment.
And Sing Sing, no Blink Dagger in sight for him. He had 1,950 gold or so before that death, now sitting at 1,730. Teleport scroll in the stash, so that'll further delay it. And until he gets that Blink Dagger, the Orchid is going to be a menace. The Sticky Napalm, the Flame Break, all of these things, even the Rocket can be used to disable the Blink, so I'm not even sure it will be a total solution. But without it, how do QPandas start a fight? Maybe you look for something. Oh, we're going to see a bit of an initiation here. Way too sexy, but immediately there's a stun from the Chen Creep. The turnaround is here. He'll sleep himself defensively. He'll go down to the Test of Faith of Mini. So QPandas able to turn that little opportunity around. Now Sing Sing skewers on in with his RP on Fogged, who just walked up to the high ground and barely escapes, but looking for the low ground to high ground shockwave. Won't find it. Now gets lassoed. Pulled up into the tower. Pulled up into the rocket barrage, and it certainly will offer some useful damage here. It all happens right at the near. Roshan Pit Universe diving Jerax towards the tier 1. Gonna scurry away. He did eat a Soul Catcher. He is fairly squishy at this point, as well as the Demonic Purge, but not able to actually kill him off. Infest, just not sufficient in the end. Don't actually think it even hit Universe there when it's all said and done. RP was expended. It looked like a good fight for QPad, but Sing Sing just slightly off the mark there. Doesn't get the clockwork, and then got lassoed up the hill for his trouble as he got a little bit, well, he forced the issue. He went for the shockwave low ground to high ground, but just couldn't find it, then paid with his life to the lasso.
Exactly. I mean, he missed the RP 100%, and then really Dignitas showing how well they can control the positioning of the opposition using the lasso of the cliff. And with the napalm stack, he couldn't even get a good skewer back down the hill. So he was stuck in that position, dropped down so quick. And as you mentioned, the Gyrocopter delivering that damage really quickly. Obviously can't question that Rocket Barrage selection in this situation here, because he's going for a gank-oriented Gyrocopter, actually. He has the Shadow Blade up. It's great for a single target burst of damage, and then the Barrage and Call Down to follow it on through. They're really, really going for gank-oriented play. And they effectively, like, you think about Clinks and how he adds to the potential of ganking and having a lot of threatening presence.
Right.
In the enemy's jungle, stuff like that. Now you have a Shadow Blade on the Gyrocopter, you have Universe with that Orchid. They can just completely shred on through any low HP support.
Mid lane. Looks like Centaur got tossed in there. Way too sexy, gets stunned off of it. Now he'll sleep himself, but will go down to the poison damage in the end, as well as the Demonic Purge. And Jerax gets pulled into the tower. Snakehate is here. The Silence going to bring him down. So just trading our supports at this point. Everybody else driven back, and unfortunately, there's still no mech for QPad. I don't even know if it makes a big difference, but like you said, I think the crucial thing to note here is Dignitas. They're not just going for an Orchid on the Weaver. They're going for they have a lineup that's very mobile, very good at finding pickoffs. They have a lineup that's not really the best 5v5 until they have items. They need a lot of items to be effective there. A few heroes like Clockwork, Gyrocopter can be, the rest, not so much. So rather than even worry about a big RP, rather than even worry about a tiny hitting an avalanche toss on 3, 4, 5 heroes, why do that? Spread the map. Control the map. We've seen aggressive wards up pretty much all game. Just find anyone, force QPad to farm at their towers, and just out-farm them, starve them basically, and if they ever try to leave those towers, if they ever don't travel as 5, then they pay with their lives. And so far, a well-executed plan by Dignitas, but all that being said, I don't feel QPad is out of it. They've still got most of their outer towers in the top and the middle lane. They have both, and the bottom none. But gold-wise, experience-wise, it's still a deficit I feel they can recover from. And if it goes late, I think a really fat Tiny can outcarry this Gyrocopter. Granted, there's a lot of single-target focus, but they also have a Lifestealer and they have Magnus and Power. So I wouldn't entirely count QPad out, but this is not a good position to be in. And Dignitas looks like they're going to continue to try and outfarm them, stacking some more Ancients now.
Yeah, a lot of it comes down to the play. We mentioned it before, but of the supports, the defensive Test of Faith, sending somebody back, or the defensive Disruption, pulling somebody out, either of the Fiend's Grip or that Flaming Lasso. So much potential there to disengage from a bad team. But actually on top, it might be a tower kill, it might be a hero kill. There's going to be double RP.
RP is here, catches out too. Now Select jumps in. Can they bring down Snakehate? They get that pesky Universe Weaver. Still very squishy. Even with the Ultimate Orb pickup, not that much HP. Snakehate doing a little bit of cliff walk in here. Should be okay. Has the Blink Dagger if he needs it. Even Larky thought about going on Jerax. Still wants to go. Jerax going to die to a Flame Break. Snakehate gets caught in the trees now. His Firefly will run out. Are they going to hunt him?
TP,
meanwhile, middle lane, though, looks like while that was happening, the tier 1 got denied by Way Too Sexy. Tower Gold, something the QPandas really want. They're still sticking around mid. I feel this is time to back, and indeed it is, because here comes Howie 2000. BKB coming next. He's got his Ogre Club picked up. And we'll see Snakehate. He never left top. He's even looking to come back in. He's got a lasso. He's going to bait out an Open Wounds and Select on the chase, but, oh, there's your lasso. I don't think Snakehate can get this kill, though. We'll have to wait and see. Yeah, in the end, actually forces an infest, so he'll be pretty happy with that. And I guess one other random thing I haven't mentioned is we haven't seen infest bombs either. That's something that QPad do at their disposal as well. So infesting the Magnus, and then he gets tossed in or he blinks in. They have the potential to find 4 or 5 heroes if Dignitas clump, and they clumped a little bit top. QPad, I like this style of play better for them. More playing defensively and reacting to Dignitas rather than trying to force the issue. Because Dignitas is so good at punishing overextensions, and their lineup, well, it tends to spread the map, but if they're diving you at the tower, that's where you clump.
Yeah. In response to your comment on the infest bombs, I was going to say something along the lines of the Magnus only just now picked up his blink dagger and used it very effectively there, but they have used this tiny toss pretty well at the same time. So if Waga was able to toss in any hero that had the next infest inside, they could dish out so much damage really, really quickly. We've seen actually great tosses already with the Shadow Demon early on, and just the centaurs that they keep on just throwing at them. But yeah, I think they could even add on to that a little bit more and really, really get some surprising initiation off. One thing I want to mention is that the tier 1 in the mid did get denied by a Bane, who only has about 77 damage, and Tiny has a toss ability that will damage the tower. So I gotta say it was a bit of a misplay by Waga letting that happen.
Well, who knows? Maybe it was a timely glyph and then asleep or something like that. At least I was watching, but we'll see. Way too sexy, dropping low QPad, trying to force the fight. RP is here. A blink RP available. Will we get Waga? No disruption. The silence so many, so he can't send him back or hand have got him out. But he couldn't get in range for the mech. Great play by Universe on the backline. Now while time lapse out, Sing Sing skewers in, hoping to pick him off after overextension. Now the hunt is on, and this is where Dignitas are king. Really, the cheetahs. The blink RP catches 2, but there's no follow-up. This looks to be ever so bad for them. No, really nobody able to stay on a hero at this point. Sing Sing trying to TP out. Jerax gonna fall as well. In the end, it will be Select as our lone survivor. And it's what I was saying. I don't think they have the best lineup to dive Dignitas. I think they're gonna be much better off. Play defensively, let Dignitas come to you, and just try and farm elsewhere on the map. When you try and get aggressive, that's where the Orchid comes out. That's where the hook is there, the well-placed cogs. It's very, very hard for QPad to find an orderly fight when they're the ones forcing the fights.
And now they might just take a Roche out of this. They have all 5 up, and like you said, 4 drop down from QPanda. They're going to take such a long time to actually retaliate on this, and it should be plenty of time to just be able to finish this off 100%. So as far as Aegis carrying, it looks like the inventory space is open for Universe. So although Aoi might be able to dish out a little bit more damage with a second set of flat cannon, he's pretty happy with the current inventory set, and it'll probably go to Universe, as I said.
Yeah, Waga, I mean, the other thing that concerns me is a really fat Tiny, I feel could carry this game because there's a secondary carry in the Lifestealer who's not doing too badly. Select now going for an Orchid of his own with an Oblivion staff up. We'll see how effective it's going to be. Aoi 2000 apparently doesn't want a completed item. He starts with the Ogre Club, now he says, I'm so rich, I'll go Butterfly instead, which I think is a fine choice. You're up against 2 strong physical damage dealers and nothing that actually removes evasion. No Hex, no Chronosphere, anything like that. Blink in mid. Snake King gonna pull in. Jerax once again mentioned that our Shadow Demon cannot afford to get caught. Unfortunately, he does. We'll see a skewer in from Sing, but with no RP, it's only a tactical skewer, only an intimidation skewer. QPandas forced to back. They do actually pop the Aegis of Universe. So a victory there for them in the end, trading your Shadow Demon for a tier 1 mid and an Aegis. I would say it's not even that bad, although, I mean, it's not ideal either to be giving up more kills. And Universe looks like he might even go for a Lincoln Sphere at this point.
Yeah, but the thing is they just got that Aegis. It wasn't like it was going to run out anytime soon, so losing it within the first minute, it's got to be frustrating for Universe. Pretty much what happened there was he took a ton of damage, and then he got RP'd, and that 3-second duration made it so that when the time-lapse came back, he didn't gain his full health bar like you normally would see. He actually got to about maybe 40-45%, and then just got bursted down right after that. So a good movement from the Magnus.
Speaking of movements, we're seeing an RP available now, and it actually wasn't used in that last fight. It must have been an avalanche or something that stunned him, because he didn't even have it available, but...
Oh, you're right.
What we do see is an Infest Bomb heading towards the top lane, and wanted to find Aoi. Unfortunately, I think I just saw a rocket coming this way. I'm not sure if it spotted them, but they don't find the kill. Great defensive positioning from Aoi, and he's rushing a Butterfly. Once he gets this, and he gets BKB, then I start to worry a little bit about QPad, and they'll smoke up again, so... we'll see another initiation attempt here. The rocket's going to clip through, but won't actually see anyone who smoked. Not yet. Now Select walks into it. So, well, now they have vision. So they know this Lifestealer's here. They know Waga's here. QPad just going to group up under the tower. Watch for the Fog Toke. He's coming from the south. Rocket coming in. Waga working on the tower. But it looks like Dignitas do want to contest it with a Blink Force Batrider. Once again, for Jerax, has to stay really far back. It's very hard against the Blink Force Batrider not to get caught. But if he does, the fight is going to fall apart for QPad.
Yeah, but one thing is that Sing Sing isn't involved here. He had to TP back just to kind of dissuade the universe from pushing down on that bottom tower. So if they want to go for it, they certainly can, but they have a long way to run, and I think that they're not going to be able to chase outside past the river. That doesn't feel like that's in their comfort zone, and although they're the ones that kind of do need to put a little bit more pressure out because they don't want the Tiny to get farmed, right now they still feel very confident and don't want to overcommit to a situation that they can't really handle.
Thing is, when we looked at the when I looked at the net worth, like, I don't know, 10 minutes ago, maybe 5, 6, 7 minutes ago, something like that. Wagga was like 6.7k. We saw Aoi around 9k. Now it's 11.6k to just about the same, 6.7k for Wagga. So Wagga basically hasn't been farming at all, and even when he is farming, he's getting picked off occasionally. He's been forced to spend a lot of time looking for opportunities to fight, and that's really not the way this QPad lineup was built. They were built to control the lanes early, have 3 very durable solos, and then when the mid-game came, after your dual roam Chen Shadow to even find some early picks, control the map, you let the Tiny farm, you take a few big fights with the 5-man with the early blink RP. Game hasn't developed that way, and now we see no farm mini. Hook isn't going to connect, but they're still diving him. Looks like he might be in trouble. Sakuchi comes in, he'll pop his mechanism, but there's no tier 2. A nice body block from Universe, but in the end he will time-lapse out. And then Fest Bomb Sing was coming, so basically the best time ever to back off. And I feel at this point the issue is they lost the tier 1 mid, they're really falling behind in map control, and yes, they got rid of the Aegis, but the Tiny needs to farm. The Lifesteal, they need big items. We need an Aghanims, then we probably need something like a BKB after, well, maybe not a BKB, but a Manta style at least, some additional items beyond that, because there's a lasso and a Fiend Script, so BKB won't do that much for you, but yeah, basically he needs a lot of items, Blaze, and I don't see where he gets that farm the way Dignitas is controlling the map.
A heck of a lot of items, actually, because of course he needs that Aghanims just to be able to farm faster and dish out that big cleave damage, but on top of that, he already has 2 points in Grow and not a thing his attack speed other than the drum. So, you know, you normally see a Tiny drafted up, he has an IO with him, he has maybe even an Ogre Magi to give him that increase in attack speed, but we don't see that here. So he's going to be attacking extremely slow. Very hard, but very, very slow. So with that in mind, he's got to have to pick up, of course, the Aghanims, but with Gyrocopter now finishing up his Butterfly, he's also going to have to look at an MKB and then another attack speed item. So he needs an AC, an MKB, and, of course, his Aghanims before I feel he's really ready to take on this Gyro.
Yeah, and don't forget about Universe. Don't forget about, I mean, even heroes like Dignitas having an Enfeeble. They have a Fiend Script, so as big as he gets, he may get controlled in the fights, and then you would really want to see the Lifestealer as the one who's got a ton of farm, but at the end of the day, it is 2 melee carries against a Gyro, who, yes, he's got a short range for his main attack, but with Flat Cannon has massive range, and speaking of that Gyro, Aoi 2000, now pick up a Mask of Death, has the lifesteal, we'll see, I think just sits on the Mask of Death, maybe completes the Dominator, then the BKB will come out, and once the BKB is there, I'm not sure if Dignitas will, if QPad can burst him down before he's able to start auto-attacking and lifesteal, and all they really have at that point is the RP to lock him in place, and I'm not sure it's enough, not when there's a Butterfly and when there's no MKB. I mean, we mentioned items, now Wagga needs an MKB, but good luck getting that. He could try and hit creeps and splash to, maybe splash to Aoi, but that's not a reliable way to dish out damage in a team fight.
You need the best reverse polarity of Sing Sing's life if you're going to be able to actually rely on that kind of cleave to dish out the damage without having to worry about evasion. So really, really big shopping list up for Wagga, and he's going to be trying to make that up quickly, but
it's like going to the grocery store and you have like 2 quarters, and you're like, alright, I want cereal, I want Pop-Tarts, I want beer, I need some toilet paper, and some cleaning supplies. What do you got for me? And the lady just looks at you. Get the hell out. Get the hell out!
No way.
Yeah,
not
it's a long shopping list, and there ain't many funds to make those purchases.
So yeah, he'll have to get a side job and see if he can actually pick up on his farm, because as you mentioned, it's really fallen behind. He only has 132 CS. Part of that's because he doesn't have the Aghanims.
Mid lane, Blink RP catches out 2, and Fest Bomb is here. This is a crucial fight for QPad. They bring down 1. The Cogs are there, but the Purge as well, and now Askir actually pushing Fog closer to his team. He'll try to hook to a teammate, narrowly missing it. A great fight from QPad, a 5-hero smoke gank. And boy, did they need that one. Something to give them this map control back. Maybe they go for a tier 2 now, but at the very least, it buys time for Wagga to farm.
Yeah, exactly. They're giving breathing room for Wagga. He's going to be able to at least pick up that Aghanims and then move on towards bigger and better things. But right now, just going to pick up this tier 2 tower very, very swiftly. I mean, just the Hellbearers and just this whole crew is going to be able to do a lot with that there. I figure the counter push of Sing Sing and Select should be enough, but they're backing off at this stage. I guess they're afraid of the...
Oh, they're going in on Select bottom lane. They lasso him, they pull him in to call down, and he will go down. Looks like he was never able to get off rage. Had like a split second there at the very end where I thought maybe he could, but wouldn't matter at that point. Owie hitting at him with the butterfly. They're breaking high ground. They're breaking the base. There's no RP, so Dignitas loses 2 mid. No problem. You guys don't have RP. We're going to start chipping away your tower anyway. A fresh flat cannon coming soon. And we might even see QPandas lose racks after taking down the 2 supports mid. In fact, it looks like they will, Blaze.
Yeah, exactly.
Owie's low. He'll Shadow Blade out the stun. I think it just barely missed from the Centaur there. Owie able to skirt on out, but Universe is low. He'll time-lapse back. Are they going to go back in? I hear a purge on the backside. It's a backstab from Jerax, but what are you doing, Jerax? Runs directly into 4 or 5 heroes, in fact, as the supports were just converging. Not the best time to go in. And that means no defensive disruption for Waga, who could really use it right now, as he's caught out by Hook. Will get picked off. We needed Jerax in the perfect position, and because they went for that tower mid, looks like he was just scrambling to get back, didn't have a TP. The only way he knew how was to go for a backstab, but he dies, Waga dies, no items in sight after that death, and they're going to lose Rax. Who needs, I mean really, who needs your full 5-man? Just 3-man down, there's no RP, and they get the Rex.
Seriously, I guess Jerax over voice is just like, don't worry guys, I got this. I'm Shadow. But we do see attempt of initiation from Snaking. He actually goes in for the full force to try to jump on in, but it's not going to happen. But yeah, if Jerax was actually in there, the Test of Faith, which has been actually maxed out by the Chen, did come down on Waga, and a defensive disruption would have bought him enough time to actually make that happen. Keeping Waga active and then the RP being available in just a few short seconds, it actually could have cleaned that up hardcore. They could have saved their racks. All those things kind of spiraled out of control, though, with Jerax just kind of walking in to a terrible, terrible position.
And the reason he was there was he didn't have a TP, so it wasn't Jerax like just feeding. He had no other way to get to the fight, but it's just one of those things where for QPad, just didn't anticipate Dignitas getting so aggressive. I think a really smart reaction by Dignitas, and somewhat understandable that QPad would have anticipated. We just killed 2, now they're breaking our base with 3, huh? But in the end, it's just Dignitas kind of out-gaming them, out-executing here. And Roche is coming soon, and having that bottom racks down means it's going to be much harder for QPad to contest this, because that bottom lane is always going to be pushing in. And not a good lane for Waga to farm anymore. Oh, he's close. He's finally almost got the Ags, but he needs like he needs like at least 2 items, if not 3 after this, I feel.
Aghanims for Tiny is like a Battle Fury for Anti-Mage. You need to get that thing relatively quickly. I mean, he's got good bread and butter items with the Drum of Endurance, the Phase Boots. He's really, really able to do his own in the fights up against like the normal heroes, but up against these super buff carries, up against Universe, up against Owie, he's really accomplishing very, very little. So at this stage, Aghanim Scepter at 34 minutes, it'll put him back where he needs to be, but it's been a long time coming. Luckily, he has had Empower to kind of, you know, act as a substitute. Not the best option,
it's a poor substitute. Ags is ridiculous, all right? And that thing makes you hit buildings really freaking hard as well, so we'll see. Waga, he'll have this bottom lane to farm. It will always be pushing in, but, again, the creep's not giving you much in terms of bounty. It'll be an easy roach for Owie, and I don't even think we'll see a contest for QPad. I think if you, in this situation, maybe you try and smoke and push out the top lane or something. They could actually, they don't even know this roach is happening, because the other thing is, when they lost that fight, they got thoroughly dewarded by Dignitas. As you can see, these Sentry Wards just recently deployed. So not only does Dignitas take the fight, they use it to secure additional map control. Now Owie's going to solo the Roche, while 4 heroes shown over towards the top lane as they ran past the Observer Ward. They have no idea, and Owie's just soloing it.
They probably knew the timing of it, but with the fact that everybody was up on top lane just moments before, they couldn't fathom that he's just doing it by himself. With the lifesteal, with this pack leader's aura from the dominated little wolf there, they're able to bring it down quickly, and that's really, really easy snipe. What they wouldn't have given for a rocket flare to just scout it out. But if you look at their map control, they have a couple of nice wards in the enemy's jungle, but those are doing absolutely nothing for them right now. They're not able to actually push out. There's a big difference between where they are and where those wards are. There's this gigantic dead man land where they just don't want to actually move forward.
Here we go.
And for good reason.
It's just such a bad angle to go in. There's going to be cogs on the high ground, and in fact, I won't be surprised if they man up here. They will. Hook on in. Catches Waga. Where's that disruption? Jerax is here, not throwing it out yet. Wants to sit on it. Wants to hold it. Actually test the base. Sends it back. So that's why there's no disruption. Problem is, no Tiny, no Mag in this fight. So it's now become just an absolute crush fest. It's basically a 5v2. These two are going to scurry on out of there. The 2 supports heading for the hills. Dignitas says, run all you like. We're coming for your racks. And with that, I think this might be game. This is probably 2 lanes of racks. Can't see QPad fighting even if they have buyback. And speaking of buyback, they have it on Lifestealer, but they don't have it on Sing Sing's Mag.
Yeah, that's very, very unfortunate. That couldn't have been worse for them, kind of going in that position. They were looking for a tiny pickup with the smoke, and they got off a bit off way more than they could chew. They were all clustered up, the cogs were there, and most importantly, the swarm from Universe hit onto Sing Sing. He wasn't able to use the blink, therefore the reverse polarity didn't have a single bit of chance, so they just disengaged. They got the Test of Faith off, they pulled out Waga, but was he contributing without that reverse polarity? Not too much.
Here comes a hero backstep for Mini. He's got an Invis rune. Watch for the Ursa Claps. Here we go. He's got an elf fogged with one.
1v5, let's do it.
Run, run. Sorry, Hellbear Smashers. I'm calling them Ursas, man. I'm with AC on this. Hellbear Smasher, pretty bad name for a creep.
He's still in.
Mini wants to send it back. He doesn't want to lose his precious Ursa. He's thinking about it. Nope, he won't go in the end. At this point, if you're QPad, you have to just... I feel you just have to be desperate and fight out of your base, because if you let Dignitas get to your base, you're going to lose to Flat Cat and Splash. So here we go. They'll attempt that, but it's already snaking, lurking, cliff riding as it is. They see Sing Sing with an infest. If they lasso him, that'd be big. There is an RP. Catches out too, but Fog going to cog them away from the fight. Now a hook comes in out of Feed Script as well. Select held a position while that was happening. Our Tiny went down. Waga to fall as well. GG comes out. QPandas. Well, it's a new day, and I gotta say, Blaze, knock on wood, but we didn't have any DDoS issues, at least not in this game. Well, hopefully it stays that way. But QPad off to a slow start here, and Dignitas, you gotta say, I feel more than the draft, it was just great execution by Dignitas. And, I mean, the lanes work great for them. Batrider versus Tiny, not a particularly strong lane. Batrider, or in fact, a pretty bad lane. And then, of course, Weaver versus Magnus, not a great lane either. But I didn't feel like the dual roam was nearly effective enough.
Yeah, exactly. Their lanes were already weak to begin with, extremely weak in my opinion, but heading it so that the supports don't even win one of the lanes, I mean, that's the point of a tri-lane, is going to be guaranteeing that one lane at least will be completely successful, but with the roaming of the supports, they were able to make some action happen across the map, and it was rather interesting at the very least with those tosses, but no, it really made it so that there was nobody getting that dedicated farm, and Gyrocopter just kind of took it away. In that last fight, although there were some really cool plays by Sing with that Blink, RP, and Skewer to the north, what it was is Aoi was still to the south, and so he was this giant buffer of just like, if you want to get to the supports, you come through me. So there was no follow-up to that reverse polarity, and Gyrocopter just chewed through everything, had his BKB, didn't even pop it, and of course his Aegis was still fully intact as well. So there was really no hope for that fight, and that's because of the build-up to it. Every single stage, I would definitely say that Dignitas had the upper hand. And
remember, QPad, they got first blood, they even got a courier snipe. Normally, that's all about like assuring you a laning stage victory, but Dignitas, better movement through the laning stage, and everything was very efficient in the end. Looked like Fog was under level, but he really wasn't, because he was stacking agents that whole time. So Dignitas, they'll take game one of this best of three. It's the G1 League Season 5, and we are in the midst of it in the Western qualifiers. It's been some difficult days for us here, but it looks like we at least get one game complete. That game one going to Dignitas. Game two coming up next in the best of three. I'm LD, he's Blaze. If you want to follow and support Blaze, it's twitter.com/BlazeCasting. As for me, twitter.com/LDDota. Stay tuned, guys. Game two coming up next.